Live. Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. Thank you for your patience. And we started a little bit late today. That was my bad, but don't worry, we are still on. But I will wait a few moments to let everyone join and we'll get started. Thank you for sharing your Monday with us. We know it's probably your day off and we appreciate that you spent the hour. Oh, there's a lot of you here today. It's great news. All right. Well, I think that's it. If for whatever reason, if you join late or know someone who's joining late, don't worry, we're recording everything and it will be ready in about 24 hours on our website. But we'll get started. Welcome to the webinar, Solo Studies, Building a Business. This webinar is brought to you by Aesthetics International Association, or AIA, and Dermascope magazine. It's also sponsored by SkinScript. My name is Doreen Reyes. I will be the moderator for today's webinar. I'm also having technical difficulties, so apologize for that. And this webinar is presented by Michael Shuey. Michael Shuey is the Director of Education for SkinScript Skincare, and he's also a business owner himself. Very businessman, very busy man. We were just talking about it. Let me remind you that this webinar is interactive, so if you have any questions for Michael for the presentation, feel free to use that Q&A function. You can find it right now and get a little familiar. You can say hello, where you're joining from, because we'd love to hear from you. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Michael and we'll get started.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Well, welcome everybody. I'm Michael Shuey, Director of Education with SkinScript. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Today, we're going to talk about building a business. I'm going to share with you a lot of personal triumphs and tragedies of having a business for 20 years. And hopefully for those of you who are maybe thinking of going into business for yourself, give you some things to think about, talking about just if you want to start a business, what are some of the steps to start? And since we've only got about an hour, we're not going to be able to cover everything, but we'll do our best and we'll take some questions at the end. So let's jump into it. So I know I was formerly a director of education of a school here in Arizona. And one of the first questions we usually the first day would ask, how many of the students wanted to own their own business? And this would be a very interesting question because about half the students typically wanted to work for themselves. And I think in our industry, a lot of people think the end goal is to work for yourself. And that's not necessarily the case, I think. You can be very successful as an esthetician working for someone else and not necessarily having to work for yourself. I've done it for 20 years and it is difficult. You have to hustle. I always kind of joke and say, as a solo SD, you are not only the therapist, you are the receptionist, you're the janitor, office manager. You got to wear a lot of different hats. So if you're somebody who is able to do that and juggle a lot, being your own business owner could definitely be something you could be qualified to do. Another thing is, even if you're not going to work for somebody else, you're always going to be running your own micro business. You're always going to be managing your own clientele. And so a lot of the things we're going to talk about today could be very related to even if you're working for somebody else. So we're going to jump in. And so if you think you want to work for yourself, one of the first things I always suggest is maybe journal. I have some of my journals for business that I do. I always write notes. And one of the first things I always say is, if you think you want to run your own business, why? Spend some time writing it out. If you can't come up with some good answers, maybe it's not the best time for you to start. But for those of you who want to get going and maybe you think it's right for you, I highly suggest starting off with this personal evaluation. And this, again, is something that you could journal to think about. When you're owning your own business, or even just being a practicing esthetician, you've got to understand the areas that you're strong at and the areas that you need more education on. And so for most of you, aesthetics, hopefully that's a home run. Maybe if you're a new student, you're starting off, maybe you still need to learn some things about aesthetics. And that might be where you're going to figure out, okay, where am I going to go get extra training? When you're in school, you're really learning the basics, and successful estheticians are going to continue their education outside of school. So maybe you want to focus on a specific area of aesthetics, maybe lashes, working with microneedling. So you might need advanced training for that too. Being a business owner, that's a very specific skill. I was very lucky. I went to, in college, I had a minor in business. So I had a little bit of advantage because I had taken a lot of business classes, but there was still a lot of things I had to learn. So if you're somebody who's maybe a great esthetician, that may not make you a great business owner. So you may need to look at what kind of classes, what kind of information do I have to do to figure out what is going to work best for me. We're going to talk today about mentors. We're going to talk about resources. And so hopefully I'll give you some that will help you. If this is the area you're a little bit weak on, maybe you can start to practice up on. Communication is huge in our industry. I always joke and kind of say, you know, we meet somebody brand new. We ask them a lot of personal questions about their life, their medications. We put them on a table, we shine a bright light in their face, and we tell them what's wrong with their skin. Hopefully that's not what you're doing, but you have to build trust. You have to be able to communicate with your clients very quickly. People are going to come to you because of you. And so being able to have a good communicator, especially one-on-one with that client in the treatment room, being able to follow up before and after with them is so important. So if you're somebody who maybe has a hard time talking to people, this is where you might have to do a little bit of homework. You might have to come out of your shell a little bit and learn how to have those interpersonal kind of communications with your clients, because that's going to be super important. We've got social media and marketing. Now, I've had my practice for 20 years. When I first started, we didn't have social media. It was all just basically communication one-on-one. This is an area, if you ask me what's a weakness, I will say social media is not my strong suit, but I had built my practice up, so I don't really use social media so much to market my business, but it is a thing now where this is so important. And we know that it is a great way to get your information out there to your clients, to get known. So the biggest thing with social media is some of you are probably very dynamic on social media and you're used to getting on there and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. You can go down that rabbit hole for hours. But there's a difference between using social media for your personal side and for your business side. You want to make sure that you have a clear division of that. So your clients are going to want to see your business side and not that personal side. And when you go online to do your social media, you really want to make sure that you're focusing on that and you're not kind of getting more down the rabbit hole, because time is money in business. And so you want to get on, you want to create your content and your posts and get it done. That's really going to help you with your marketing. As far as finances go, this is another area where I did have to learn a bunch of hard lessons. I think a lot of people aren't taught basic finances. And the first place I would ask you is, how are you with your personal finances? Because if that's not a strong area for you, you're probably really going to have to be diligent on the business side. And today we're going to talk about wants versus needs, especially how to make specific decisions for your business, because it's a little different than your own personal finances. And I'll share a few stories too with you on tips and tricks on that. So, but after all this, you know, you maybe write and journal a little bit about why you want to be a business owner. And then you go through this personal evaluation. You might start to go, okay, I feel good. I know the areas I need to maybe take a few business classes. I'm good on the communication. I'm good on the social media. Maybe I need to do a little brush up on my finances. Or some of you might be going, ooh, this may not be the time for me to do this. And don't feel like you have to rush into a practice right away. I think going out and working for others is a great way to learn the business, to get your skills up, to kind of see how different businesses are run. And so don't feel like I have to graduate from school and I have to jump right into it. I was really lucky. I have always worked for myself. I was in a corporate job that I absolutely hated. And I would say I was young enough and dumb enough to just jump into it full time. And luckily it worked out for me, but it really is a hustle and it really does take a lot of time. So really take some time and get to know yourself in the areas that you need to build up and practice with. All right, a business plan. I know this can sound scary, but business plans are so important. They say that owners who do a business plan are 6 times more likely to succeed than those who don't. And I kind of equate it to this analogy. If you've ever wanted to go to Europe, maybe for 2 weeks and travel, most of you probably wouldn't just wake up in the morning and go, okay, I'm going to Europe tomorrow. I'm a Virgo. I love to plan. I love to plan trips. I'm very detail oriented. So if I was going on a trip, I would need a plan. First of all, how am I going to get there? That's going to be important. I'm going to have to think about budgeting because I'm going to have my money to get there, to get home, what kind of activities I'm going to do, how much money do I have to allot to what I want to do. We got to think about documentation. Do I have my passport? Am I able to get into countries? Do I need a visa for that country? Are there fees associated with going there? When you think about the money aspect, not only that, but I'm going to probably have to exchange my money, and how's that money going to work, and what's the exchange rate like? We can also think about equipment. If you've ever been to a different country, sometimes you need to take your different plugs to plug in there. So you want to make sure you have all your equipment available. And then how are you going to get home? How are you going to get out of that country? That's kind of what your business plan is. When you think about that, it is a plan for success. It's all of your ideas that you're jotting down, so you're not going in blindly. And this is so important to really focus on because it's going to really help you with coming up with things you didn't even think about. On the screen there, you can see the U.S. Small Business Administration. This is a website that has a lot of resources when it comes to doing a business plan. And I know they can seem a little scary sometimes and a little daunting, but the more detailed you can get, the better off you're going to be. One of the worst things you can do is just jump in, not really have a plan of attack, and then all of a sudden, you're kind of stuck with some things that you didn't even think about. And so this is going to really help you out and giving you just some abilities to succeed, because you may work on your business plan and realize you're not ready to start. And it give you idea of maybe where you need to save, where you need to brush up, or what is going to make you most successful in this industry. I kind of laugh. One of the major questions I get all the time in trainings are people want to know, how much should I charge for my services? And I kind of laugh because this is the first question that people ask, and it's actually one of probably the last questions that we should actually be asking. There we go. So I get this question a lot, and I never answer this question for anybody. They'll say, Michael, how much should I charge my facials? And I'll say, you need to do your homework. You need to research. That goes back to your business plan. When you actually do your business plan, this will tell you how much you should be charging. If you're just kind of coming up with an arbitrary number, that's probably not going to be very beneficial for you. And you've got to, number one, think of these following questions. Think about your brand. When you're starting your practice, what do you want to be known for? When they think of your name, when they think of your business, what is your brand? So how are you going to position that a little bit? And partly that can be, maybe you want to be a very high-end type of spa. Maybe you want to be a middle of the road, or maybe you're going to be a little more of a bargain esthetician. There is a place for everybody there. And they each have their own advantages and they each have their own disadvantages. And so you've got to kind of look and see, where do you want to land with that? Part of that is also going to be knowing who your competitors are. This is so important. You need to know who your competitors are, because this can really drive your price, or it can help you set yourself apart. Let's say you are the only esthetician in your town and you're the only person using, let's say, SkinScript, because hopefully you're using SkinScript. But if you're the only esthetician in town, you can probably set your own price. Now you got to think about the demographic and how much are people going to pay for that, but you're not going to be so much locked in maybe based on your competitors. But what if I'm working in like a salon suite and I have 3 other estheticians in that area? So I've got 3 other people I'm competing. Let's say everybody's charging $125 a facial. And I think, okay, well, let's see, I'm new, I'm out of school, I don't have a lot of experience. I'm only going to charge $90 a facial. Everybody else is charging $125, you're charging $90. So you're kind of going a little more of the bargain route. The problem with that sometimes can be is, have you ever gotten like a couple bids from maybe companies for projects or something? You see something's really cheap and inexpensive compared to everything else. What's usually your first thought on that? Typically, you're like, what's wrong with it? Or why is it so cheap? Or if it's so cheap, maybe they're not good at what they do. So sometimes going way too low with your price can hurt you, because people will start to think, I'm getting what I'm paid for. So you may want to bump that up a little bit. But what if everybody's charging $125 in your area and you want to charge $150? You can definitely do that, but you've got to show me, the consumer, why would I pay $25 more a facial than three other people in the area? And that could be a lot of reasons. That could be the skincare line you use. That could be the type of service you're providing. Maybe everybody else does a 60-minute facial and yours is an 80-minute facial. And that's going to help justify it to clients, but you're going to have to show that through your brand, through your marketing, and show that value and a difference. So looking at your competitors is really important. And one thing about your competitors, they're not the enemy. You know, we are in such a small industry, and I know sometimes it seems big, but believe me, I've been doing this for 20 years and it's amazing. Everybody kind of knows everybody else. And so your competitors, don't think of them as enemies, think of them as allies, because you may get a client that you don't jive with, and maybe they're just not the right client for you. Send them over to somebody else. Start referring them out, because if you're referring clients, they'll refer them back to you, and you can learn a lot about your competitors. So just think of them as an ally instead of an enemy, and that's really going to help you out. We kind of touched on experience a little bit. For those of you who are just coming out of school, or maybe you're starting off, don't feel like you have to undercut and undercharge, because you have value and you have a service that people want. And once you set a rate, it is really difficult to raise those rates. Like, let's say I come out of school and I'm like, okay, I'm brand new. I'm just going to do a $60 facial. And for the first year, all facials are $60. At the end of that year, if you think you're going to jump up to $100 from $60, it's just not going to happen, because you've conditioned your clients that you're only worth $60. So start yourself where you think you should be, where you want to be. Look at your competitors there. That's really going to help. Look at your location. You know, I'm in Arizona, and if I'm going to go see an esthetician up in North Scottsdale, that's kind of a little more fancy area, they're going to be able to charge a lot more than maybe somebody who is down in Tempe, which is a little more college town. And so that's going to play a lot of part. But the biggest thing you need to look at when we're looking at coming up with how much should I charge is, what is your overhead? What are your expenses? How much is it taking me to do that facial? And I think where a lot of people go is they look at the cost of the facial, maybe the products and the supplies, and they're like, okay, it cost me $15 in supplies. So, you know, if I'm charging $100, that's a really good profit, but you're missing a lot of expenses there. You got to think about your rent. You got to think about your insurance. You got to think about paying yourself. That's the one thing most people forget to actually put in their budgets, is you've got to pay yourself. And so your overhead expenses, you're going to figure out when you do your budget, when you're looking at your business plan. And one of the last things that you should figure out is how much you're going to charge based off of those numbers. So I know we always want to kind of have an idea, but you got to do your homework first. Few professional tips. Friends and family. I know when I started off, I thought, oh my gosh, I have a lot of friends and family. They're all going to come for facials, and I'm going to have this instant client base. And friends and family are amazing. But the reality is most of our friends and family want us to do everything for free. If you've been in this industry for a long time, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? And so we love our friends and family, but please do not do the services for free. You have a service, you're taking your time, you have your overhead, you have your costs. So what I recommend is have a friends and family discount. You can discount it whatever you feel comfortable with, but that discount should at least at a minimum cover your overhead. And I would say also cover your time, because if you're working on a friend or a family member, that is a slot that an actual full-time paying client could take up at that point. So, you know, if your friends and family are not supporting you in that manner, you know, you got to let them know that this is my livelihood. This is my business. This is my career. This is how I'm going to support my family. So they should be supportive in that aspect. I always get the question asked, how do I build my clientele? And this is difficult. I was very lucky when I first started in the business. I was a massage therapist for 3 years, and I worked next to another professional who had an overflow of clients and would send me that, and that was very helpful. But when I started aesthetics, it was difficult to transition my massage clients into aesthetics because they wanted their massage. So I had to get creative with that. I will give you a tip. If you are dual licensed in massage and aesthetics and you're starting off with adding aesthetics, one of the best things I did to get my massage clients to try aesthetics was I did a 90-minute massage facial combination. It was really nice. That way the clients got to have their massage, but they also got to experience the facial. And that way then I had 2 services to book. But going back is offering a referral bonus. This is so important. This is one of the ways that I really grew my business. And I had a really strong referral system. For your first 2 referrals, I gave just money off the services. But the 3rd referral, I gave them a free service of their choice. And it was so funny because I'd have some clients who would give me 1 or 2 clients, but as soon as they got that free one, they started referring me out because people love stuff, right? Who doesn't want a free facial or a free massage? I had one client who sent me over 50 referrals. And he would, every time he'd come in, he'd take a stack of cards and I would get all of these people. Finally, I called him and I said, Dan, you've referred me so many people. You can come for the rest of my career once a month and get a free service. And he did that for about a year and then he finally moved away. But you want to really take care of those people who send you the clients, because if they love what you do, they're going to go tell their friends and their family. So have a really strong referral bonus system for them. That's a great way to start your practice. Another hard lesson I learned was discounting my services. You know, I think a lot of times as new estheticians, or I was a massage therapist when I first started, I would run every other month the same special, and it was $10 off a massage. And back then the massages were like $55. So 10 was a good price. And so I started noticing on the months I didn't run the $10 off, I was slow. And some of my regular clients, instead of coming monthly, they started coming every other month. Well, what I had done is I had conditioned them to look for my specials. And they were smart. They knew that every other month I was running that $10 off special. So they were just coming that way. When you discount your services, you train your clients to not want to pay full price. And think about it this way. If I'm a brand new client, and as a brand new client, if it's $100 for your facial, let's just make it easy with the math, and I say that we're going to do $20 off for your first service, they're only paying $80 the first time they come in. You have just established that you're only worth $80. And if you're giving $20 discount for all new clients, and let's say just you're doing discounts in general and you do $10, $20 discounts a week. Over time, that's going to be about $10,000 a year you've discounted. That is a big chunk of change coming out of your budget. So instead of doing offers that are discount, add value services. This is such a great way to give them something back, but also to increase your income. So if I have a brand new special for clients, I might say, hey, come in for your facial, your first time facial, and we're going to give you a golden hand honey treatment. This is actually a treatment that our lead educator, Tina Buckley, created, and it's phenomenal. And what you can say to them is, you know, you come in, you're going to get a free golden honey hand treatment, which is a $20 value. So we're giving them extra here. They come in, they get the service. By the way, it's gorgeous. If you're familiar with our golden honey nourishing mask, you just put a little bit on their hands. You need just the tiniest bit, massage it in, put a paraffin glove over it, and then warm herbal mitts, let it sit for like 15 minutes. Take it off, take a nice barber wrap, steam towel, remove that, and then you can use our hydrating moisturizer on the hands. It is a gorgeous treatment. So the client gets a little extra, and that's something maybe you normally charge $20 for. So now I haven't discounted, so they're paying me $100. They're used to paying the average, but next time that client comes in, they're going to love that treatment. They're going to come back and say, hey, I want to add on that service. So now I've upcharged $20. That's $20 more I'm making instead of discounting. And if you remember the math, we said if we discount $20 and if we do that about 10 services a week, what if we upcharge 10 services a week at $20? That could be about a $10,000 increase to your revenue. So you are giving them something, but you're building value. So that is probably one of the best tips that I could give you. And then finally, Charge more than you think. You're worth it, okay? I know it's hard, especially coming out of school and you think I don't have an experience, but you are worth it. I always joke and I always tell people when they tell me how much they're going to charge, to say add 20% to it. Because we're in an industry where we want to help people, but we're also business owners. We need to make a living, we need to support our families, and so you have to make sure you're charging. I hope those tips are helpful for you. You have to have your professionals. So we talked about that personal assessment earlier. So once you're done with your personal assessment, you're going to kind of have an idea of where you need help and what areas you need help with. Having a mentor is probably one of the best things I ever just the universe gave me. Her name is Deb, and Deb was actually an acupuncturist and an energy worker. I was one of her clients, and she kind of took me under her wing and really helped me not only learn some business things, but just when I had ideas, it was somebody I could bounce something off of. And, when I was just feeling overwhelmed, I could always talk to her and just would always kind of lift me up. Kind of like your Esty Bestie too, you need these people for when you start to have burnout, because believe me, burnout is real. For those of you who've been doing this for a while, especially if you're a solo Esty, you need somebody to talk to. You need to have those people who, when you're having a bad day, you can call them up and they're going to help you when you need to run an idea by somebody. So the mentor, the Esty Besties, they're going to be phenomenal to help you out. You also need your professionals like your lawyer. If you are going to be signing a lease, if you need to have contracts made up, if you're going to have employees, you're going to need a lawyer. Never sign a contract or a lease unless you really know what you're getting into, because you're basically saying by signing that, you agree to everything. And that can cost you a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing. Accountants and bookkeepers, they are going to save you so much money. Maybe taking some basic QuickBook if you're using QuickBooks, or get with your accountant and find one before you start, because a lot of the expenses you're paying out in the beginning, those are going to be write-offs. And so finding those people who know what they're doing is huge. Yes, you're going to pay for it, but it's going to be well worth it. You've got to have insurance. So you want to find a good insurance partner, and this can be renter's insurance, liability insurance. Make sure you're not practicing without this, because if something goes wrong, they're going to back you up there. You've got your networking groups. Networking groups were very big when I first started in the industry, because again, we didn't have social media. Social media itself can kind of be a kind of micro network group, but network groups can be great because you can meet people from other industries that might share ideas and business ideas and tips and tricks, but you can also kind of have a shared collective referral base, which is really nice with that. And that could be with acupuncturists, nutritionalists, massage therapists. So, or just even other different industries. The other nice thing about networking groups is a lot of time you can do trades with them. I trade with my accountant, so I don't actually have to pay for my account. I trade with the lady who does my hair, so that's always a benefit. But really, one of the most important things is you have to come up with partnering with a skincare line that you trust, believe in, and that is going to help you be successful. So let's talk about that. Hope everybody's hanging in there with me. I know it's a lot of information in a short time. So your skincare line, this should be one of your favorite partners. And you really need to make sure that this, more than anything, aligns with your demographic, with your brand. Part of the business plan is who are my clients? Who am I targeting? If you're just saying, I want to work on everybody, you really want to have a target. Are you maybe focusing on hyperpigmentation, anti-aging, acne? You can definitely have clients, but having a focus is a really nice way to start your business and tell your client kind of your brand story that way. And you should have a line that maybe you believe in, that you trust, that you've personally seen results with. I don't know if you've ever worked somewhere where you had to use a line you really didn't like, you didn't believe in. You probably weren't really successful with it, were you? So the price is also very important, because let's say I'm doing a very high-end boutique spa, but I'm using a line that is extremely affordable. that's not really going to work with your brand story. So you want to make sure you're finding a line that aligns with your brand very much, and that can work with your price too. And so having that brand price is really important when you're looking to start off, and that all should be part of that business plan that you're starting. But you also want to look at, how is that brand going to support my business? Because they should be a huge key supporter of yours. Having no minimums, we're going to talk about that on the next slide. It's huge. And I'll share some personal stories about that. Customer service. They should be your biggest support. Yes, you got your mentor and your esty bestie, but when something goes wrong or when you have a question, you want to be able to connect with them easily and quickly. A lot of companies have sales reps, and sales reps are great, but their title says it all. They're kind of a sales focused. You want to make sure that also the person you're talking with is a licensed esthetician. Do they know skin? Do they have experience in the treatment room? That is so important. And are they available? You want to be able to get your questions answered as quickly as possible. If you're in the treatment room and you're about to do something and you don't know, and you can't find a resource, maybe in a training manual, maybe you can't get a hold of somebody, then that's going to be very difficult. But if you can get a hold of your whoever you're working with, your customer service, you're going to feel confident. You're going to get the answers you need to succeed. Education is huge in our industry. For those of you who are still in school, hopefully, I know once you get out of school, you're gonna go, great, I passed my boards. That's just the beginning. That's just the taste of the industry. You're going to want to continue your education. And so you want to make sure you have a brand that's really going to support you with this. And more than that, you want to make sure that this brand gives you the support you need, and not so much in the fact where you feel like you have to always pay for it. You know, if you have to buy into education, that can be difficult, because if you're not really familiar with that line and you need to buy into it before you even get to experience it, you may pay all this money to get this education and realize that's not the brand that I want to go with. So it's important to look at that. And, you know, it's funny because I think a lot of times people take classes, they get a certificate, and all of a sudden they're saying they're a specialist. And to be a specialist, you really need more than a few hours online of education. You really need to have that industry experience. You need to go in and practice that. So I kind of laugh because there's so many people out there calling themselves a specialist, but you really need to get in there and practice and get your expertise with that. So having a brand that's going to give you quality education, very affordable, is super important. Then we've got shipping. If your clients can't get those products to them quickly, or you can't get those delivered to your clients quickly, we live in an Amazon overnight world. We want our stuff as quick as possible. So that's super important. Drop shipping is really important, being able to deliver products directly to your clients. And we'll talk about a little bit more about drop shipping a little bit later. And then marketing. You know, with social media, it's so important that we have graphics, we have content. And so you want to make sure that the company you're working for helps provide a lot of that for you. And so you don't have to recreate it all. So having that support, or maybe even having a way to post before and after photos, or, you know, get a screenshot or a content of a product that you love that you want to feature on your site, is going to be really important. So this is really where you want to have a lot of thought and make sure that it is aligning with your practice. It is going to support you and your business and what your clients want. That's important. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about on this slide. So I love this graphic, this want versus need. We as estheticians, we want it all. We want to play with all the products. You know, we want all enzymes. We want all the masks. We want all the moisturizers. If you think of the want is you, the esthetician, the need is your client. The need is your business. And there is a big difference between what I want as a personal esthetician and what my clients need. And so this, I think, is where most people get into a lot of financial trouble and bad financial decisions. And I'll be very honest, when I first started in the industry, I bought a lot of stuff. I bought up a lot of equipment that I wanted. My clients necessarily didn't want it. And so when you're moving forward with any purchase, it's really important to stop and go, okay, do I want it or do my clients need it? Because it's going to save you a lot of money in the long run when you can make that distinction between what you want and what your business needs. No minimums are huge. When I started in the industry 20 years ago, I went with a line that I absolutely loved at that time. I had used it in school. It's a phenomenal line, but the minimum was $1,500 opening order. Now, I had no aesthetics clients at that time. I was just doing massage, and I worked with my sales rep, and I got this gorgeous back bar, this gorgeous retail display, and I think I spent close to $2,000. And that was $2,000 that I really didn't have to spend, but I needed it to get this account open. And I had all of this product, I had all this back bar, and I had no aesthetics clients. And my aesthetics practice took a while to build. And so a lot of that sat and it sat. And in our industry, a lot of times after about a year, shelf life of products can start to go bad. So a lot of my back bar I ended up having to throw out before I used. And a lot of my retail, I ended up not being able to get sell. And I gave a lot of it away because I didn't want it to expire. So I lost a lot of money in the beginning. And that was about $2,000 that I could have used to promote my business or do other things with. So had I gone with a line at that time that had no minimums, I would have been able to look at my money a little bit differently and adjust it. So when you're thinking about going with a line, the no minimums is going to be huge because it's really going to help you focus where you want to spend your money, and you can grow. You can start very small and grow that up. You're going to see down there, who is my target client? We've kind of talked about this. How long will it take my business to grow? On average, it takes a good 2 years to get a business up and running, and that's really hustling. I always kind of said I never turned down a client for the first 8 years. I would work Monday through Sunday. I think after 8 years, I finally said I could take Sunday off. And when you're looking at purchasing something, maybe you want to purchase a microneedling pen. Again, do you want it or do your clients want it? And then let's say I'm spending $1,000 on a microneedling pen. I have to look at my return investment. How many sessions do I have to do to pay that off? Because if it's $1,000 and I'm charging $100 for each facial, I got to look at all my other costs and subtract that out of that. And then I've got to do each time those sessions to pay off that before I'm even making any money off of it. So it's really important. You can just start a practice off with a table, some great linens, a few brushes, and your hands. This is really all the equipment you need to get started. So, by the way, take really good of care of your hands, your body, stretch them out each day. It's super, super fun. You want to have longevity in this industry. All right, startup costs. This is a place where I think a lot of people don't get detailed. And they think, okay, it's going to be easy. I just need a table and I need a few supplies. But there's a lot of hidden things. So some things to think about is, you may need some certifications, some training to get started, and then putting in your budget each year, continuing education. Most of you are probably in a state where you're required to take continuing education, but even if you're like here in Arizona, it's not required, you still want to do it. So you want to put this in your budget each year because you want to continue to grow your knowledge. Equipment and supplies. We touched on this, but what do you really need to get started? And that's where you really want to focus your budget in the beginning. And you can do that on a budget. I always laugh. You're always going to see massage tables for sale. A lot of people buy them. They use them once or twice, and it's a brand new table that you can get at a great price. Your licenses and businesses, this can add up in the beginning. You're going to have federal, state, city, board fees that are kind of racking up in the beginning. So make sure you're budgeting that. Your location, if you're going to rent a space, you're probably going to have a deposit. You may have a first and last month's rent. And depending where you're going, this could really vary with that. Insurance, we touched on that. This is a must. And there's a lot of great associations out there, industry associations that can give you insurance at very economical and also provide some free education. Marketing, again, a lot of that can be done through yourself with social media, but if you need help with that, you may need to hire somebody. We also then think about software and technology. What booking system are you going to use? Are you going to have a credit card? Are you going to take credit card payments? There are fees associated with that. And then the miscellaneous expenses, they add up. So you always want to pad in a little bit extra there too. For things on a budget, to start on a budget, look at starting part-time, maybe working 1 day a week somewhere, build your practice up. I always joke and say I was young and dumb and just jumped into it full time. I was lucky, but a lot of people might work 1 day a week. When you're filling that, all your slots consistently for a couple months, add in another day and you can slowly kind of transition over. Sharing space is a great way to do that. While you're building your business. So you're not stuck with maybe a full month's rent that you can't afford. We talked a lot about equipment, discounts on bulk orders. Maybe you want to get a group of Estes and bulk orders can save you a lot of money, but maybe you don't need all of that when you start. Maybe 4 of you go into a bulk order and you can split up that. That can be a way to help save costs. And then your product, find a line that has no minimums. Look at retail sizes versus back bar. If you're just starting off, get the smaller retail sizes for your cleansers, your things. You may not need that giant back bar, or get the back bar items that you know you're going to consistently use and bring in some of the smaller retail to supplement until you get busy, until you realize what products you actually need. And then drop shipping. This is huge. When you have a full retail shelf, you have to pay that money, and product sitting on a shelf is just that. It's money there until you sell it. Drop shipping is really cool because you can have the client pay you first and then you send it to them. So you're not putting out money for retail in advance, or you can just carry a few items that you're going to ship or you're going to sell in your practice and then ship everything else out. To help generate some new clients, new revenue, here are just a few little ideas. We talked about services and add-on. You can get really creative with this, but come up with some cool add-ons for your clients. That's a way to increase your tickets. Virtual consultations. I think a lot of us during the pandemic started doing this. I know I had quite a few, and I have a few virtual clients that I've never met that I retail to all the time. And it's kind of a neat way. Make sure you are charging for that. Educational classes. You could hold a little seminar for your clients or maybe the community on just some basic skincare things. This would be a great way to have them come in, get some free information. You could even do some little sample pack for them just to get them interested. Or maybe you've been in the industry for a while. You could generate more income by teaching classes if that's something you can do in your state. Spa parties are a great way to get new people in to learn more about you. If you have space to rent out, I have a wellness center and I have a chiropractor in there, an acupuncturist in there. And so that is a great way to really help supplement income and rent. And then partnering up with other complementary businesses. I love the fact that I have an acupuncturist who refers to me and vice versa. My chiropractor. At one point, I was trying to get new clients. And so my acupuncturist and I came up with an acupuncture facial. Clients would come in and get a facial, and then the acupuncturist would come in and put a few needles in their feet to work on different things that they were trying to work on. So my clients got to experience acupuncture, and her clients got to experience aesthetics. So it was kind of neat. We were both kind of ended up getting a lot of new clients from that. So you could do that with anybody in your area that's surrounding that you can partner with. And retail, do not forget about retail. This is an area where you can make a lot of money. And I know from working in the schools, a lot of people are scared of retail, but retail is where change happens with the skin. We know the clients need to do their home care to really make changes. And this is also where you can really increase your revenue. So if you're somebody who is a little bit scared about retailing, maybe you just don't feel comfortable, you're still in school, here's some of my tips to work with. Number one, retail what you love and you believe in. This goes back to choosing a line. If you don't believe in it, you're not going to sell it. I can remember when I started in school, we had 2 lines. We had one line that none of us liked, and we had one line that we loved. We all retailed the line we loved, and I don't even think that line still exists today, the one that we didn't like. So make sure you have something you believe in and you love. In general, learn ingredients of our industry. If you were in school, if you're a brand new Esty, the way that you learn ingredients is you have to study. It's just that. It's memorization. Make flashcards, whatever you can do. Pick an ingredient each week. If you're in school, get a study group and do this, because once you know ingredients, you can pick up any bottle, you can turn it around, you can look at that label, and you know exactly who that's good for and what it's going to do for any of your clients. When you pick your line, study that line, get to know it, really get detailed. Any line you choose should have a training manual. They should have online resources. They should have customer service to help you out. And when you really study it and get to know it, especially the trademark and registered trademark ingredients, you're going to feel more confident to not only select the right product for your client, but you're also going to see results from that. The next 4, 5, and 6 really kind of go together. Ask your clients, when you sell them something, how long do they think they're going to see results? Most of us think that products are going to change our lives within a week. Maybe some people even try it 2 times and go, I love it or I hate it. We know that skin doesn't change overnight. You have to teach your clients about their skin. I teach all my clients about cellular turnover. Basically, every month, the epidermis is changing. It's turning over. We're getting this fresh new cells. As we age, that's going to slow down. So if I have somebody in their 60s, it's going to maybe take about 6 weeks. So when I teach my clients this concept, I'll say to them, okay, I'm going to give you these products. You're going to have to use them at a minimum for a month to start to see change. Change doesn't happen overnight, and you have to be consistent with it. What you're doing is you're setting the expectation for them to try it, to get used to it. Because we know if they use it once or twice, they're not going to see much. But if they use it for a cell cycle, that 30 days, 45 days, it also creates a habit, but then they have time to see the change there. And we know that retail products are the key to change. So educate your client on that, let them know that. And educate. Do not sell. Please don't be a salesperson. All right. Even if your background is sales, go from an education approach. We don't want to be that sleazy car salesperson, clients need to trust you. And that's what our industry is all about. I know I've had some clients that I've had for 20 years, and they trust when I recommend something for them. There's a reason for that. And don't assume. This one is really big. Because when you assume, you're basically projecting your thoughts on everybody else, and you may be projecting that you don't think this is worth this money, but let that client decide. No is not a bad word. It just means not for now. So always be persistent. And then if you're not selling and if you're not retailing, really go in and think about why. Why are you struggling with it? So a little more about us. This is Lisa. For those of you who have never met Lisa Van Bakken, she is the founder of SkinScript, and I love her story because Lisa, when she got into industry, she realized that there wasn't a line that was accessible, that didn't have minimums, that was really kind of safe for all fits and all skin. So she created her own line, and last year, Lisa did sell the company and she sold it to the employees, which was really amazing. We are a 100% employee-owned company. And the reason that's so amazing is we're all estheticians, and we have followed these 3 keys and pillars that Lisa started: amazing products, award-winning customer service, and quality education. And we're really here to support you, the esthetician, because we know that this is your livelihood. And just a few things, if you're not familiar with our line, we are safe for all fits. We have no minimums. We only sell to you, the professionals. And so that is us supporting you so that you can be successful in your practice. And we have a very affordable price. We really focus on what's in the bottle. So our line really fits well, especially if you're just starting off your practice. We were very lucky to win Dermascope's Reader Choice Award for customer service. Best customer service. This was the first year this award was given, so we were very honored to win it. And we are all licensed estheticians. So when you call us, and you can call us Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., you're talking to a live person who knows skin. We can help you set up with accounts, and you can have a free account with us, and you can just take care of our free education, but we will help support you, especially if you want to start your own business. we in June are going to start to roll out some new professional bundles. Very exciting. And so for those of you who aren't really quite sure what you need, we're going to have some different levels of products to help you get started. That's very affordable. And then finally, I'm very biased on this, the education part. We really focus on education, a lot of free education. As I said, to have an account, you can create an account for free. If you're a student, you can also have a free account. We have a free learning center that has 3 courses in there. There's a professional product course, a retail course, and a full chemical peel course. We also have free live chats every other month, and there's a live chat component. Usually Tina's in there, and she's amazing. And so you can just, like I said, have an account and get a lot of free education. We have classes in person, and we love in-person classes because you're going to get a lot more out of it. You're going to get to meet people. You're going to get to network. And so taking time, I know it's hard sometimes to travel, but you're going to get so much out of it, and our prices are extremely affordable, and we'll feed you really well too. And then webinars like this, or come to the trade shows where we have classes there. And then for anybody who's in the schools, we have a free ambassador education program. It's a free presentation. It's non-sales, where you just want to teach your students a little bit about general things in the industry, and then kind of talk about who we are and how we can support you. So to recap, I know we're running out of time and I want to have some time for questions. Where to begin? Start with journaling. Start with that personal evaluation. Find out what skills you have, what areas you need to work on. Come up with that business plan. I know it can seem daunting, but just step by step. Find a partner that aligns with your brand. Hopefully that will be us, SkinScript. And just continue your education, because you want to grow your business with a company that's going to support you. And when we look at it as a partnership, the more successful you are, the more successful we are, and we both benefit. So, and then there's our contact information on the screen there. So we'll just open it up. Do we have any questions?
We do. And I just want to say before we begin, this is probably the most supportive audience that I've ever come across. So I really appreciate you guys are also positive, and it's just great to read all your positive comments, even if there's not questions. There is questions, but even if there wasn't, it's just a great way to start the Monday. So let's go into, well, there was an easy one of the SkinScript. You already answered it. Have order minimums.
No minimums.
No minimums. So just get that across. No minimums.
Yep.
That's like, the best news ever. Okay. So another one, do you have any recommendations for someone who is trying to cut costs and opening up a practice within their home?
Yeah, within your home, the first thing you have to look at is your state regulations. Is it allowed? But even more than that, even if your state says you are allowed to do it, you have to check like with an HOA. A lot of HOAs won't allow it. And I know a lot of people work out of their home kind of under the radar, but be very careful with that. You want to try to do things as up and up. If you can do it from home, great. Just make sure you kind of keep it as separate and as professional as possible too. That can be a great way to start. As you grow, you may find that you kind of outgrow your house a little bit, and you need to move that way. But that can really help you out with some costs in the beginning, especially if you can pay yourself the rent. So,
okay. Do you have any recommendations to selecting insurance?
There's a lot of great companies out there. ASCP has a great insurance and free education, hands-on trade. Just do your homework with it. Ask maybe some of your SD besties who they're working with, or if you're currently in school. But also, if you're going to do advanced modalities, make sure that the advanced modalities are covered. Sometimes you have to get additional insurance for that. If you're have a wellness center, or if you're actually owning a building, you're probably going to have to go with one of the insurance companies themselves to have the renter's insurance to cover that liability insurance. So just check around for prices too, because prices can vary also.
Okay. And then, so what comes first, a business license or an LLC or insurance? Which do you?
Well, your liability insurance, you could get that in school or after that. You really want to kind of get you can set up your LLC, but part of that's a business plan because you want to look at, are you going to be an LLC? Are you going to be an S Corp? Are you going to be a partnership? So you kind of want to get that information going first and figure out, but to get your bank account set up, to get all your licensing and stuff, yes, you have to have, if you're going to have an LLC, get that. I would not recommend working as a sole proprietor. The difference is if you're a sole proprietor, and something happens, they can come after your personal assets. So separate your business, either have an LLC, a partnership, or like an S Corp. But once you get that kind of done, then you can kind of move forward with your licensing, your bank accounts, all of that.
Very sound advice. Let's not go after your personal assets. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes. I'm going to try to go as quickly as possible. I know you mentioned that setting your prices is kind of the last step, but do you have any recommendations of what you think a sufficient amount to start a business would be?
As far as like how much you need to start up a business total?
Correct.
Oh, I couldn't answer that for you either. Honestly, it
I
varies
thought
so much. You know, rent alone can vary. Like I said, I'm in Phoenix area. You could have, you know, rent $1,500 in one area and you could have $600 in another area. Just do your homework, you know, and start small. Look at the basics and kind of build off of that. But that's again, it's kind of like the price. You got to do your homework on that.
Absolutely.
But that when you have that number, that will help you realize, okay, do I need to save or am I ready to go? And then add 20% to that number because you probably forgot some stuff.
Yeah, just in case. There's a hidden cost in everything.
Yeah. Just a few.
Okay, this is an easy one. So as someone who is just trying to get familiar with SkinScript, what are some product staples that you recommend?
Oh, so our green tea cleanser is amazing. And
It is.
I kind of tease this a little bit. We have some professional bundle packs that are kind of going to come out in June. And those are kind of some of the core products that you can start off with. A few of the cleansers, you know, for enzymes, I always tell people, you don't need to carry all of our enzymes in mass, especially if you're starting off. I tell people start off with coconut, papaya enzyme, blueberry and cherry. You can kind of hit everything with that. And then for the mask, the goji berry mask, the golden honey mask, and strawberry seaweed, you can hit everybody with those three. As your business kind of grows, or maybe start to specialize in acne, you move this way, or hyperpigmentation, you move that way. But look for in June, mid-June, we'll be introducing those packs, and that will be very helpful. Or call the office and let us know what you're specializing in, who your target market is, and we'll help you select those.
You know, it's like choosing your kids, like the best
I know.
one, right? It's like, there's just so much.
Yeah.
So we have lots more questions and that is our time, unfortunately, but I will be sending over a Q&A report over to the SkinScript team. So don't worry if we didn't get to you. SkinScript is amazing in their customer service, award-winning, obviously.
Give us a call. We'll answer your question for you.
Absolutely. But thank you so much for spending this hour. Thank you, Michael, for preparing this presentation. It was very informative. Like I said, so much amazing, good feedback. And, you know, that's always music to our ears. Thanks, guys. I will see you
Thank you,
next
everybody.
time and have a great day.
Bye-bye.